Hey everybody, I am your host, Elad, YouTube's #1 reporter, and today we are reporting to you from my hometown of Long Island at a reopened protest. Let's go talk to some folks, see what's going on. And you have a sign over here that says fake news is not essential. Can you tell me a little bit more about your sign and why you're out here?
So what happened was in Comac, on Thursday, we were all surrounding Kevin from News 12, who's obviously part of the fake news bunch, and we started a chant that said fake news is not essential.
Fake news is not essential! Fake news is not essential! Fake news is not essential!
And it's been shared twice now by the President of the United States. He actually quoted us, in quotes, fake news is not essential, so I'm here to keep that message going. And every American standing in this lot, if you want to turn that camera around, show how many people are here right now, they all think fake news is not essential. And that's our message here today. We want to open up this state. There's no reason to keep the state shut. 300 people at a time can go into Home Depot, but 5 people can't go into a retail store of a small mom and pop shop. Listen, I tell people we could lose 3 million people, which we won't come anywhere close. But if we lose 3 million businesses that employ 50 million people, that's going to be a lot worse than any coronavirus.
Okay, absolutely. I want to follow up with you and ask, so you're saying fake news is not essential. Do you have real news that you turn to? So where do you get your news?
I get my news from these people standing in front of me. We are the news. The media was supposed to be for the people, by the people, just like the government. We don't want journalism. We don't want editorialists coming out just giving their opinion and labeling it news. It's fake, and the American people are seeing right through it. And that's why Trump's going to be reelected in a landslide against the pedophile Joe Biden.
So where do you get your news from?
Independent news, I go to Drudge, I'll go to, a lot of independent sites. I go to international news agencies. You have to look at every side. Listen, I read CNN, but sometimes you got to read crazy to know crazy. So, this is, you got to look at every story. But you got to judge for yourself as an adult what is true and what is propaganda. And everybody knows what's going around right now is 90% propaganda.
Hey, excuse me, sir. Is there any chance I could ask you a couple of questions?
We're covering it.
Okay, me too, but I want to cover the coverage. No? It's important to cover the coverage. That's the real fake news. The real fake news. Hey, excuse me, is there any chance I could have a quick interview?
I'm sorry, who are you with?
My name is Elad, I'm independent. I post all my information on YouTube.
Okay.
Cool.
Do you want me to wear this?
No, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do. So I see you have a sign over here. It says Long Island is stuck in phase 0. As I understand, you're one of the organizers for the event here.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on and why you decided to organize this event?
Because I felt somebody needed to take a stand for Long Island. Long Island has done everything we've been asked to do in a responsible way. We've shut down, we've stayed in our homes, and the numbers show at this point that we are ready to start the reopening phase, and we're stuck in phase 0, which means we're not even close to phase 1 at this point because of the mandates put on us by Governor Cuomo.
New York's now kind of been described as this new epicenter for the virus. Do you think we should be taking any precautions, and what precautions do you think we should be taking to kind of help, hedge our bets against the coronavirus, being worse here?
Well, I think at this point, washing your hands is important, as it always has been. But I think, staying home and isolating and not getting the fresh air and not getting your immune system, to continue working, I don't think that's smart either. And we did what we were asked to do for a certain amount of time. The goalposts continue to shift. And at this point, waiting until we have over 400 tracers for Nassau County alone, and they're still hiring tracers, it's just, the goalpost just keeps shifting, and we just, Long Island cannot sustain that. We have families to feed.
I have one more question for you. It kind of feels like the government is placating some Americans by giving them their $1,200 checks. I wanted to ask you, did you think it was a good move, these stimulus checks that we're seeing some Americans get? What do you think about that?
I don't have the biggest problem with the stimulus checks. I do have a problem with the second stimulus that they're looking to pass. I do not believe at this point that they should be encouraging people to stay unemployed by giving them that extra $600 a week through January. The people staying home and collecting this unemployment at this point are making more money than people, and I have people in my family that work for a Walmart, that work for Nabisco, that are in the supermarkets and the gas stations, and they're making, you know, a lot less money to be out there feeding us and getting us gas and everything else, and I just feel that's very lopsided.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
God
Thank
bless.
you. I know the organizers here recommended wearing masks and socially distancing. Some people are wearing masks, some people are socially distancing. You're not really doing much of that. Do you think it's important to do that? Do you think it's important for the protesters to do that?
You know what? I was very scared for a very long time. And I was one of the first people that, when they told me to take shelter, I ran. I went home, I did what I had to do, I wore my mask until maybe a couple of days ago. And I started realizing if we're going to, oh my God, it's getting loud. If we're gonna do something, oh my goodness.
Really noisy, yeah.
So if we're gonna, I'm so distracted.
It's okay.
The whole point of it is that I've gotten to a place where I no longer fear the disease because, first off, the CDC, WHO, and everybody else, politics has gotten involved in our science. It's completely corrupted. And now I'm listening to the news, and the only thing they're telling me is that I'm going to find safety and salvation from the comfort of my home. While I watch people lose their businesses, I watch people who are willing to take that sacrifice as a chance to do something, and I'm like, no, this can't be right. Why is there so much ambiguity in about this disease? Why? There has to be a reason.
What do you
It's
think the media?
fear.
What do you think the media's role is here?
The media. I don't trust the media anymore. That's why I was even hesitant to come and talk.
Have
I'm
you seen how the
nervous.
media is covering the protests and the reopen events?
Oh, God, it's bad. It's all of it is bad. You know, we're made out to seem like we're a bunch of racist, militia-hating people, and that's not the case. There's so many more of us who feel this way, and you don't see that. There's so many more faces to New York than just New York City, and we should be heard from every angle. Absolutely. You know. It shouldn't just be Cuomo that's making this choice for us, and he is a tyrant in all of this.
I know we're trying to develop a vaccine, but some people aren't satisfied with that. If a vaccine were developed, would you take the vaccine?
Well, that's a personal opinion, and that's for me and me alone. I'll ask you that question. Would you take the vaccine?
No.
No, absolutely not.
No, wouldn't take it.
Why?
Why? Because I pass up on a lot of vaccines, and coronavirus will not kill me. It has a lower mortality rate for people like me.
100% agreed.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So
Well-
can I ask you another question?
Sure.
How do you see this playing out? Do you think the media is corrupt?
I do think the media is corrupt. The media has been corrupt. It didn't take me coronavirus to know that the media is corrupt.
Excellent, excellent. Do you feel like, do I have to wear this because it's killing me?
No, I don't care.
All right, because I
have
can't
a low
breathe.
mortality rate, but here's the question. There's a lot of old people here who would be susceptible to dying from the coronavirus. So do you fear that this might be like an event where we spread it? Look, there's a big crowd. Look at this old lady. Look at all these old women in
I'd
here.
like to turn that question. Do you think herd immunity is real?
I know herd immunity is real.
Do you think people who look strong and healthy out in fresh air in the sun, do you really think that they're likely to get it and die today?
So I think herd immunity should develop first in the communities that are most vulnerable. And herd immunity also implies that it runs through a population and then kills a lot of people. So do I believe in herd immunity? Yeah. Herd immunity happens after the people who were susceptible to the virus die.
What's the mortality rate for COVID?
We don't know what the mortality rate is.
What do you think it is?
I have no idea.
What's the data you've seen?
The data's all over the place. The testing is all over the place. We're not
What do you
testing.
think of the testing kits that tested a papaya as positive?
I don't think they're good.
Okay, do you think we need to test the testers? Do you think we should decentralize medical,
Decentralize?
the medical industry?
I don't think we are centralized.
You don't think the World Health Organization and the CDC are somewhat centralized?
Yes and no, but the thing about this.
Centralized. And Bill Gates is not a doctor. He has no medical background. He has no business in India with those freaking vaccinations. He has no business here.
Is Dr. Fauci a doctor?
Oh my God, of course he's a doctor, but he's a moron.
So would you,
he's
but
being
he's a
paid
moron.
behind the scenes. Do you understand? He's being paid behind the scenes. He's part of the deep state. Do you understand? He went from wear a mask, get a mask on. You've got to hide in your house. Fauci's being paid off. He did the right thing at first, and somebody slapped him in the head and said, wrong answer. Tell them they've got to stay in and wear a mask. It's bullshit.
When you say he's deep state, what do you mean by that?
Really? You tell me, who's deep state? It starts with Obama down, and this is not just this. Yeah, go ahead.
What? I have no idea what she means. It sounds like a conspiracy. I don't think Dr. Fauci's a bad actor here. Do you think Dr. Fauci's a bad
I
actor?
don't understand. What do you think the deep state is?
I don't know. It's a vague term that means nothing.
It is not a big term.
Let's slow down.
So what does
Can
it
I have
mean?
this? Can I have this? So I'm just asking. So you think the deep state is fake?
I think the word deep state
So-
means nothing.
Would you say? Just bear with me. Would you say that there is a nepotistic group of politicians who like to do deals on the side and carve up for profit?
100%, but that's indicative of every political system that's existed.
But do you understand when the roots go deeper and deeper, they could do more and more? Is that true?
Yeah, but I don't know. Is that what the deep state is? Nepotism? Is that another word for nepotism?
What do you think?
I think we have a word for nepotism, so we don't need another word for it.
So you think that people should say when Bill Gates is in bed with, like, say, a Monsanto, and they did all kinds of damage to the soil of India, and so many people and farmers there are dying and starving.
Sure.
Do you think that is a good deal between good people?
I think that's bad.
So good. So how else do you describe? Do you have to say the full sentence of all the machinations and inner workings of these deals every time, or wouldn't it be easy to coin a phrase like deep state?
Deep state sounds especially and exceptionally conspiratorial. I think you could use better language than that.
What would
Can
you
I ask you a
use?
question now?
What
You have
would
asked
you
me.
use?
When
word would you
describing
use?
who?
How would you replace deep state, and what would it be with?
I don't know what your deep state is a catch-all for everything. So if we're talking about specific politicians and people, we can just call them corrupt individuals. Let me ask you
So
a
you
question
think-
now.
so-
We've asked me a bunch of questions. Let me get you one
No,
back.
I want to
Last one, give me.
So when you're telling me that, and again, I'm just confused.
Sure.
You're saying that the deep state is a bad term because the deep state is only describing every
I'll tell you
politician
exactly
in the
what I'm
history.
saying. I'm telling you, when you say deep state, when people say deep state, people think you're a conspiracy theorist. That's it. That's what the optics of it are.
So I just curious.
Point blank.
No,
Not
no,
me. I'm telling you that the optics, what the public thinks when people hear that, they think conspiracy theorist. And I mean, we could argue about it, but that's my
That's
view.
probably worth a debate.
Sure.
Another time.
Can I ask you a question now?
Yes, sir.
Do you think Dr. Fauci is a deep state actor?
I think deep state actor in a moment like this, to say it how you could frame it any way you want, would probably be a bad optical answer in any way.
Is Fauci deep state or not? If you don't want to answer,
Well, you
that's
said
fine.
the deep state doesn't exist.
There you go. All
Didn't you
right.
say the deep state didn't exist?
All right. Yeah, I said it's a catch-all term that means
All right,
nothing.
So what? So then ask the question how you would frame it. You just
Do you
framed
think
it-
Dr. Fauci's a corrupt official?
I would say Dr. Fauci has some financial interest to lead people a certain direction.
Do you think it's bad that Trump's keeping him on?
I have no idea. How would I know? How would I know? I'm not in those
I don't
meetings.
know. You know the other things. Can I ask you some questions? So we're out here today at the Reopen Long Island event. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you're out here today?
To protect our rights, to make decisions for ourselves. If at 18 years old, somebody can decide to join any military with a good chance of dying, why at the age of 58 can't I decide not to wear a mask and get the virus? There it is. End of discussion. If they're allowing 18-year-olds to kill themselves, why can't I? That's it.
I wanted to ask you now, New York's been described now in the media as the new epicenter. Do you think we should be taking any precautions here in New York, or should it just be a free-for-all?
We're not an epicenter anymore. They're going to keep that going forever and ever to keep us contained, to keep us controlled. That's why they're going to always refer to us as the epicenter. We're not. If you watch Cuomo, the numbers are down, we're good, we're good, we're good. then why are we still wearing masks? Why haven't they told people to take your masks off outside?
Well, as I
Why do you need
understand-
a mask outside? Why do you need it outside?
So as I understand, these are supposed to be mitigating factors to try to help reduce the spread of the virus by any percentages. Right now, I think we're nearing like 80,000 deaths in the U.S. Do you think those are real? Hey, can you stop harassing me and my
I'm
buddy?
not harassing. Why
Can you
is he not wearing
back
a
up?
mask?
Because he doesn't want to wear a mask.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to wear a mask.
So why are you yelling?
Because you're back.
Because
Get
you're
off,
here to
back
troll.
up.
You're
You've been
trolling.
harassing me trying to interview this
I'm
lady. You've been
asking.
barking at me. Do you want to talk?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's
You're
going on?
giving her a hard time for not wearing a mask, but
I'm
your
not giving
cameraman
her a hard
isn't.
time. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
You don't know.
He asked a question.
I know what I'm talking about.
He asked a question.
Here,
Back
she's
up.
saying you don't know what
Back
you're talking
up.
about, buddy.
That's what you're looking for. You're looking for people to
Look,
get angry.
excuse me, lady. I mean, respectfully. Respectfully, sir, you came in, you just wanted to bark and yell, and she's telling you you're wrong, and now you can't own up to it?
I did just own up to it.
Good job, buddy.
I did own up to it.
As
Yeah.
long as you know he's trolling.
I know he's trolling. It's all good.
I don't know why. Why troll?
What do you guys think about free speech? Do you think free speech is important?
What are you kidding me? Why would you ask the question you know the answer
Because
to?
I feel like you guys are acting like it's not important.
For them, but not for us. That's what it is. Yes.
And when you say them, who do you mean?
mean the fake news.
You think I'm fake news?
Yes, you are fake
Actually,
news.
where are you work for?
All your questions are framed in such a way. Why? What is your agenda?
Sure,
What
I
is
don't.
your position?
My agenda is have decent reporting, and I think these are the questions that people want to know about what's going on at events like this.
What's going on here? What do you think's going on here? What do you
I'm
see?
asking you and finding out. What question did you think was unfair? Did you think any questions were unfair?
No, I'm asking you.
She
what
didn't think any questions were unfair. Don't be
Darren.
such a snowflake, bro.
See, can I answer that? Your question to her.
So you
What,
make assumptions.
One at a time. Which one?
So like you make an assumption and then you do the ad
assumption
attack
did I make?
That I'm a snowflake. So you're judging me because you don't like
No,
how
it was an
masculine I
assumption. You seem
am.
very
I
sensitive about
think
the
you're
questions I was
homophobic,
asking.
maybe.
All right, yeah, I'm homophobic.
What kind of statement is that? Because I am not the most
If I'm
masculine
homophobic,
guy.
are you homosexual? What does that mean?
Why are you? Be honest though. Why would you troll an event like this when people just want to get back to work?
I told you I'm not trolling the event. I'm asking questions that I think people want answered.
All right, what's the
so
spin?
we are
What's the
out.
spin going to be on this one?
Oh, well, you'll find out soon.
All right.
So
Yo, look at the cameraman's pants.
yeah, look at the cameraman's pants. All right.
All right. This is your cameraman? All right.
So we're out here today in Long Island. So we're out here today in Long Island for this reopen protest. You have a sign that says fake news is not essential.
That's right.
So if it was up to you, what fake news would you deem unessential and have to shut them down?
All fake news. Even Fox is not treating us too well either. Maybe Fox after 8 p.m. That's about it. But
That's
the
it.
rest of the fake news, nobody does any fair news. There was not fair news being treated at the News 12. The May 1st rally was spun all about masks and vaccines when people are out here trying to talk about going back to work. Opening up Nassau County, opening up Suffolk County. These people want to go to work.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you, where do you get your news from? Calling all the news fake news, non-essential. Even Fox isn't good before
Well,
8.
I didn't say Fox is not good, but I try to stick to independent stuff, research. There's really not much real news out there. Any of the mainstream news is pretty much fake. No, definitely wouldn't turn on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox during the day is a little bit rough, but after 8 o'clock is pretty good.
So New York has been called the new pandemic, the new epicenter for the pandemic. Do you think we should be taking any precautions out here against the
Absolutely. You should-
coronavirus?
of course, you should take some precautions. The virus is real. It's not a fake virus. As right away when people think you question the numbers, they think, oh, you think the virus is fake. The virus is not fake. It's real. But it's not a pandemic. It's not. A lot of the numbers are inflated. The death tolls are inflated. All of a sudden, nobody's dying of pneumonia. Nobody's dying of COPD. Nobody's dying of heart disease. Everybody's labeled COVID. I know at least 5 people had relatives that died and they got labeled COVID when it had nothing to do with COVID. So they're inflating the death tolls, and then now that we're finding out with the antibodies, there was actually more people inflated. So that means the mortality rate is actually much lower. Is much lower than what they even told us. So you're looking at a mortality rate at less than 0.1%.
I want to follow up with you and ask. Some people were being a little bit conspiratorial about Bill Gates because Bill Gates is a philanthropist who said he wanted to get involved. I want to ask you, what do you think about Bill Gates getting involved trying to produce a vaccine?
I think Bill Gates needs to stay out of it. I don't want a tech guy who could even cure a virus on Microsoft to be giving viruses, funding viruses. I don't know how anybody would inject their child, let alone themselves, with a vaccine that was funded by Bill Gates.
Let me ask you,
or
if
Dr. Fauci for that matter.
Yeah, so if there was a vaccine that was developed, would you take it?
Absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with a vaccine, and I'm not an anti-vaccine. My daughter over there, she has pretty much all the vaccines that she needs for school, but I don't touch the flu shot. She doesn't touch the flu shot.
You're just anti-coronavirus and flu vaccines,
No.
not anti-vaccines across the board.
I'm anti-vaccines with hidden agendas. I'm also anti-vaccines that don't have over a 95% success rate. There's no children that get smallpox from a smallpox vaccine. There's no
Well, that's because smallpox was eradicated.
Right, but the vaccine also helped to do that. The flu vaccine has been around, 15, 20 years? Hasn't eradicated the flu. So when are we going to get it eradicated? Absolutely. If you have a flu vaccine that could eradicate the flu 98%, I'll consider giving it to myself and my child. But with a 50-50 chance, it's not happening.
I want to pivot and ask, the government, it seems like they're placating some of the American people right now with these stimulus checks, the $1,200. Yes. I want to ask, what do you think about the stimulus checks?
I think that's forced socialism. I don't want a stimulus check. I didn't get a stimulus check. I'm sure most of these people here, they just want to go to work. They don't want to be forced socialism, actually forced communism. They want to go to work and continue to live the free life that we've been living for the most part of this country.
I have one last question for you. I see you're wearing a Q shirt.
You know
Can you tell me a little bit more about what is Q?
The QAnon movement, in my opinion, I know there's a lot of different theories on it. It was a movement that was behind Trump, helped his narrative, helped him get elected, and continues to fight against what we consider the evil. I mean, there's pretty much seems good and evil in this country. There's been a deep state.
So could you tell me who the deep state actors are?
A lot. I don't know. I think there's more and more that pop up every time we turn around. But
is Bill Gates a deep state actor?
I would think so.
What does that say? Fake news, non-essential.
There we go.
Yeah, so is Fauci deep state?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, anybody with the narrative that or the agenda that they have is unfortunately part of the swamp.
John Podesta, deep state?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Did you ever see his pictures? I mean, any guy that has those pictures hanging up in his house, you got to think something.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time.
All right,
I really
thank
appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Hope you are enjoying the content. If so, be sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of the video.